Everything that I was, everything that I am, and everything that I will ever be, I owe it to my family. My parents, for being role models, strong parent figures, guides of my life, and for the great sacrifice that they made when they gave up everything that they have ever known to help my brother and I to have a better life. My younger brother has also shaped me to be the person that I am. He was the first person in my life who motivated me to become a better man. The way that he always looked up to me, the way that he followed my steps, and how he tended to mirror everything that I did. As his older brother, I wanted to set the right example for him. It is important for me to tell my parents' story to be able to explain why I am the person who I am today. Both my parents were raised in a high social and economical upbringing. My father was raised in Tampico, a port off the coast of Mexico. Although Mexican, his ancestors were of European descent. His parents were both successful entrepreneurs. Growing up, my father had a good home, food on the table, and the best possible education in Tampico. Because his parents were rarely around, my father learned to live on the streets. All he wanted to do is to play soccer. Through soccer, my father was able to socialize with people from all types of social classes and backgrounds. He knew how to speak to everyone and never paid attention to the size of their wallets, but the size of their hearts. Through my father, I learned to help those in need, but most importantly, to treat everyone equally and to never discriminate anyone simply because they are different to me. I learned to be humble and to treat people with respect and courtesy. My mother was raised in San Luis Potosí, Mexico, as part of a middle upper class. Even though her family wasn't of the richest in town, she always seemed to have more than she actually did. Her light skin tone and beautiful features allowed her to enter socialite groups in her hometown. She enjoyed this lifestyle, but the divorce of her parents caused her to move to Tampico with her sister. In Tampico, my mother had much less, but she worked non-stop to make a good life of her own. Like my father, my mother never finished her education, and she always wished that she had studied more. She always told herself that her kids would finish college. From my mother, I learned to always work hard to be the best. She taught me to never give up and to keep my head high at all times. She's the driving force in our family, the energy that pushes every single one of us to succeed. She's a determined woman, and I learned to set goals and achieve them. Once married, my parents set themselves goals as a couple. They believed that together, working as a team, they would be able to achieve anything. They wanted to buy a home. They wanted to have a couple of kids and raise them together under any circumstance. Their kids would be bilingual, compete in athletic events, but most importantly, over everything else, they will complete their studies at a university. When my parents came up with this plan, they lived a comfortable middle upper class lifestyle. The economy was strong, their business was successful, and the future was bright. In the mid-90s, when I was about 9 years of age, Mexico suffered an economic depression that would resonate in many homes. In under 3 years, my father had gone from being a successful businessman to bankruptcy. My mother, being the strong woman that she is, decided to leave everything behind and just move to the United States. My parents told my brother and I the plan, and within 2 weeks, my parents had sold everything and a new stage of my life was about to begin. Moving to the United States has been the most difficult event that I have ever overcome in my life. As a 12-year-old, I was lost. Behind, I was leaving everything that I ever knew. My school, my friends, my extended family, my hometown, my country, and so many other things that had shaped me into who I was up to that moment in my life. Although I left a lot behind in Mexico, I did bring with me my Mexican culture. I still hold my Mexican culture very close to me. This is why I always make sure that I didn't lose the Spanish language. I didn't lose our costumes like the family unit. Why I continue to eat with tortilla every day. Why I blast mariachi music in my car. And why the first time I started drinking, I chased a bottle of tequila. I have always felt that my culture, my beliefs, and my values is what defines me as an individual. If I lose any of those characteristics about me, I lose my identity. I lose who I am. Culture is fluid. I arrived to the United States only knowing what it was to be part of the Mexican culture. I arrived with little to no cultural capital. 19 years later, I consider myself bicultural because I consider myself a Mexican just as I consider myself an American. One day, I will marry and have kids. With my wife, we will pass down to them our values, costumes, and beliefs. But what I'm most excited about is to pass down my Mexican culture to them. I want them to understand where they come from and who they are. I want them to understand who their father is. When I moved to the United States, I moved to the Westlake area. We lived in a tiny apartment where the four of us barely fit. My parents decided to move to this area because they thought that my brother and I would get the best education here. They assumed that because it was the school with the most rich white students and less gangs in the area, that this would be a better fit for me. Little did they know that I was now attending a school surrounded by a hegemony of white privileged kids. I suffered a lot for many years. I couldn't identify myself with anyone else. I felt lonely. I never told my parents, but I would eat lunch in the bathroom where no one else could see me. Would a more cultural diverse school had been more effective for me in that moment? Would finding a school with a larger Mexican population be better for my adaptation to a new country? The second that I walked into that school, I was the least privileged student. At times, I was internally oppressed. I felt less than everyone else. I questioned my intelligence. I questioned my heritage. My parents didn't have the big cars or the big houses. I did not understand the lectures or the books taught. And teachers did not want to waste too much time explaining things over to me. As a leader in education, how can I help this kind of students that I used to be? How can I make the learning experience more adequate? My own experience as a student has helped me mold my beliefs as an educator. It is my goal as an educator to guide my students to seek questions and answers, to integrate everyone into a social environment where everyone can learn through a westernized, philosophical style where learning is student-centered by actively giving and sharing ideas, or by the pragmatic philosophy of learning by doing. Students should have the freedom to express themselves through their ideas and explore deeper horizons. The educational system needs to move away from the idea that every question has only one answer. My goal is to motivate students into exploring these new ideas. At this point in my career, I am a leader who leads by building relationships. I believe that it is crucial for a leader to build strong relationships with his or her subordinates. As a leader, I need to be approachable and willing to listen to new ideas. In my LSI, I recorded low in the passive defensive styles. There is still a lot of room for me to improve and become a stronger leader. In order to do so, I need to feel more comfortable stating what I think and challenge ideas that I oppose but I am afraid to question. I need to learn to be assertive and state my opinion instead of just going with it. The strong values that I have acquired in my life will only help me be more successful and a stronger leader throughout my career. I have learned from my mom the drive and energy to motivate, from my dad the willingness to help those in need and by treating everyone equally. I will be able to integrate and inform Latino families by using the Spanish language. My pursuit for a family atmosphere will encourage me to bring the community together. My understanding of those who are where I once was before will help me be a guide in people's lives. It is my caring personality that will push me to become a stronger leader and role model to my students like I once was to my brother. It is one of my favorite aspects of this profession, the power to be a strong, positive influence on a lot of people's lives.